Welcome to Dominate, where we discuss strength and conditioning and much more. Alan Warner, welcome to Dominate Discussions.
Thanks, Clance. Thanks for having me.
Tell the people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Alan, and I'm originally from Barbados. I came here when I was 18, 19 to do university originally, and I've stayed on a lot since then, and eventually built myself to a career in strength and conditioning. Before that, I actually did a lot of research within the medical field.
Okay.
I've always had a passion for exercise, but also science as well too, right? So I've kind of blended them a little bit from early on.
Okay.
But before that, before I even came here, and a big part of the reason why I've always been in exercise and now as a strength coach is that I always had too much energy as a kid, according to my mother. And she said, look, at 4 years old, we got to find something for you to do because too much energy. So they put me to swim. My mom and dad put me to swim, and I never really looked back since then. So I started swimming at 4, and then did my first competition when I was 7.
7.
So
competition. So it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're from the islands, you're from Barbados, surrounded by water. Black guy swimming doesn't really connect, but it should.
it should.
Wow.
Anybody really, and I
Yeah.
know for sure there are a lot of people who don't swim
Yeah.
or can't swim that well with water around them. But I think my parents saw it as a life skill and an
Yeah.
opportunity that we all had to have. So they put me in it, and I succeeded in it. Like I said, I started competing when I was 7. It was in a few different swim clubs, but ultimately I saw myself, or I kind of blossomed more as like a sprinter. I just in and out. That's my.
So what were the distances?
So 50 meters for freestyle and 100, 50 and 100 meter freestyle, and then butterfly, same thing, and breaststroke, but more so the freestyle and butterfly events. And I continued along that path from when I was 7 competing, and then I actually made the national team when I was 11.
Oh, wow. 11 years old on a national team. That's crazy.
That's what I was doing.
Beating grown men.
Yeah, you know how it goes, man.
Yeah.
I was in and out,
Wow.
but I trained hard, and it worked out. And it was freestyle primarily that I was there for to do the sprint work. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was representing Barbados.
And how far did you go on the national team?
So I went to the Caribbean Games, CISC Games for Barbados, and I was on the swimming team until I was about 15. And then, for me, I actually found a little bit more passion outside of swimming just itself. So in the off season for swimming, sometimes we would do a lot of dry land work, but there was also water polo teams that were playing, right?
Okay.
So one summer I decided, let me try this just for fun. Off season was about from June to August. So I just tried it one day and loved it.
Water polo.
And then I just transitioned into water polo. I just kind of like the fight behind it, not just physical, but like the actual drive, working with the team nonstop.
So that team camaraderie.
Yeah.
Water polo is it's a pretty aggressive. It's a tough sport.
Yeah.
People don't realize how aggressive water polo is, or like demanding on the body. Like people try to drown your ass.
Man, the thing is that the referees can only call what they see half the time, but when you look at higher levels, you see they have underwater cameras as well too, and you see about 60% of the game is going on underneath the water, where people are holding you, pushing you, tugging you, you're getting punched, whatever the case is, because they're about getting that ball and getting it in the net.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, some of my friends have come before to come either try out and play, which is all good, but some people that didn't fully realize that we were treading water. They thought the pool was shallow enough, but the pool's 8 feet deep, right? So a game that runs an hour long, stoppage time, usually with stoppage time, quarters end up being, roughly 15 minutes with stoppage time, even though it's an 8-minute quarter.
Right.
So we're in the water, we're working. And
all the time. Non-stop.
And for me,
that was tough.
I just gravitated towards it, and I transitioned from swimming a bit more so, and then I stuck with that from 16 until I was 28, 29. So,
29.
yeah.
So how far did you go in water polo?
So I was recruited eventually to join the junior national team
Okay.
for water polo.
Okay.
With my swimming background, I already had good speed.
Right.
So it was really just to learn the technical aspects of the sport.
Right.
So I went for junior national team.
Right.
And then eventually the senior national team. We traveled throughout many regional tournaments, CISC, Caribbean and Central American Games, Commonwealth. So we went pretty far when it came to water polo, but I'll definitely say that was some of the most demanding training we've ever had to do when it came to sport.
Let's get into that a little bit about the demanding, like, so all the years of training and, and specifically working with water polo.
Yeah.
To you, what or when was the most memorable time of training? Tell me a little bit about that.
So we always, in the summer, that's when they would lay on the volume in terms of training, right? Summer camp training.
Off-season training.
Off-season, yeah, to just give you everything, right?
Right.
And for people who are not as familiar with water polo, countries like Serbia, who've actually won the gold medal this year in the Olympics.
They're the king. They're the king of water polo.
So Serbia, Hungary, they're some of the top teams. In Greece, you'll see worldwide.
Okay.
So we actually were fortunate enough to have a Serbian coach. We did also have a Hungarian coach at a different time, but this specific time I'm talking about was a Serbian coach we had. And I never forget, it was like yesterday. So he showed up, it was a Saturday, and he just came to see what we practiced like for a scrimmage, a standard Saturday scrimmage. It was good, and then he said, okay, all right, come Monday morning, we're starting a whole new way of training, right? And he was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what this is about, right?
2 weeks, no big deal.
2 weeks, I've trained a lot, but so Monday morning, he said, be at the pool 6 a.m. Really? Okay. All right, 6 a.m. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
fine. So make sure you bring plenty of hydration and stuff to do like dry land work, right? Like weights and stuff. So 6 a.m. we start, and we did dry land for an hour and a half.
Okay.
Right? That was the
Session one.
Introduction, right?
Hour
6
and a
to 7:30. And after that, we maybe had like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, rest for a little bit, put in a little bit of fuel. And then he said, okay, sunblock. So at this point, we're all like, what are we going to do next? Sunblock, So he said after that, we're going to hop in the pool, and we just want to build your aerobic base. So we swam from 9 a.m. until about 11:30, almost 12. Just
hour and a half to 2 hours.
2 hours, just conditioning different types of.
Sorry, 9 a.m. to
9 to 11:30 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's 2.5.
2.5 hours to 3 hours.
Yes.
Crazy.
So we were in the pool doing conditioning, longer distances, some sprints towards the end, and then a little bit of ball work at the end.
Right.
So 6 a.m. It's pretty much midday. In Barbados, midday sun, even 10 o'clock sun is rough, but we're in the pool for pretty much like 3 hours, so we're burnt out at this point. So so you say, all right, good, you go home and come back to the pool at 6 p.m. right? So
yes,
get home, it's so tired sometimes, you just pass out, you're just tired, you gotta sleep. Get some food in you, you come back at 6 o'clock, and then we scrimmage from 6:30 until 8 p.m., right?
So 6:30, another 2.5 hour session.
6:30
to 8 p.m., hour and a half.
Yeah, hour and a half roughly, right? So that was it. So it was Monday morning, and that was Monday morning again, and then Monday afternoon. So on Monday, we had 3 sessions.
Right.
So, and then it went like that: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So by the time we hit Friday, we had trained.
So that's 15 sessions.
15 sessions. And then Saturday was 2, and Sunday was also 2, or I think it was 1. But by the end of the week,
18 to 19 sessions for the week.
In 1 week.
Wow.
In 1 week. So, a lot of it was, how much can you take? How much are you willing to put in? And, I remember all those guys that I trained with. Like, I know those teammates by their cap numbers. Because those, like, as a goalkeeper or center forward, I'd be making passes to them nonstop. And we had that for 2 weeks, that kind of training.
How did you guys feel, or maybe, I don't know, how did you feel after the first week? Like going through that, if you're not used to that.
Yeah.
And just to break that down, I think this is really important. That's why we're spending so much time. That amount of volume, right? That amount of crazy volume for that first week. How was it?
It was rough because we had done doubles before, but we were doing triples, and we did triples for one.
But have you done them for that long, from 9 a.m.
No.
to 11:30? That's a lot of time in the water.
It's a lot of time in the water. So, 15 sessions by the time we hit Friday. And then Saturday we had long beach swims, so even more conditioning.
Wow.
And then scrimmage at night, right?
Wow.
So it was rough, and I think at certain points he wanted to see, could he break anybody? But he found this group of 11 Caribbean guys, boys at that time. We were 17, 18.
You weren't having it.
And we just stuck it in. Everybody was pretty much shredded by the end of 2 weeks, but we stuck it out. Some people
just ripped and looked good and fit.
But at the end of the day, I could bring any one of those guys, and they could tell you that experience for them, not just for their ability to get better in water polo, but just to translate that to whatever you do around you. Do your best, no matter how you're feeling, no matter how tired you might be. You still got to put in some kind of effort, because in a team setting and environment, there are people dependent on you, right? So I know that any one of those 11 guys, I can call them at any point, and I know there's gonna be a response. Much like when they're in the pool training towards me, and they look towards me for a pass, they know the pass is coming.
You guys are so in sync with that.
We just move like that, right?
So that 2-week block of training is something that you remember for the rest of your life.
Like yesterday.
And now, how did your team adapt or perform after that 2-week training?
Yeah. So for us, we had a much senior team as well too at that point. So by the first week, we were able to start to keep up with them a little bit better. By the end of the second week, we were more or less running circles around these guys, and I'm sure when they hear this, they'll be like, "Come on!" But it was the truth, because we were not able to hold our own.
You guys are a junior team.
Yeah, so we were junior going into the senior, right? So we were able to hold our own a lot better. We were able to be physically stronger in the water. Our tactical sense of the game was much more improved, because we had been doing this 3 times a day, doing skill work, doing ball work, doing drills on the board, and coaches going through everything we need to do. So it was ingrained at a much faster rate for us. So, and then after that tapered us into the Caribbean and Central American Games, where we got a bronze medal, and that was a medal that we hadn't collected in a while.
Wow.
So that then would catapult us to be able to go towards Pan American Games and so on, right? So for us, our performance went through the roof. It was brutal training, but
so
the
brutal
body,
training.
Yeah.
Okay. And after that brutal training, you guys dipped a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you rebound to a new level.
Yeah.
Adaptation. That is what I call adaptation, taking to the extreme.
Yeah.
And things like that, nuggets like that. I don't feel that a lot of coaches really understand.
Yeah.
In terms of you need to take a day off, or you're training too much, or I'm too tired. And did you how tired were you during those 2 weeks? And I know that I'm taking a little long on this, but it's important.
Yeah.
If you really want true adaptation, true performance, you want true results, you have to suffer a little bit. You got to go through the pain. I think one time you told me that you were so tired you couldn't even eat, you couldn't even look at food.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I was hungry, but my body was just so depleted, and you get miserable, you get short-tempered, but you still got to show up. It's like, I think of it, the path to success there is no elevator. I mean, maybe at the outset, you may make some quick gains. It seems as though you're rising. But when you hit that plateau or you hit a wall, you got to climb stairs, right? Because the goal is still where the goal is, right?
Right.
So you're tired and now you're climbing stairs. Like,
Right.
who wants to do that?
Right.
Nobody wants to do that unless you really want what you want.
Right.
So you got to just go after it.
So I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that story. Take us into now, Alan here, Alan, the strength coach, how you basically, got into meeting LPS through AAS and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And give us your experience.
Well, it's I guess the pandemic, had its own way of bringing people into my space. So it was my cousin Selena, who actually I realized you used to coach like 20 plus years ago,
years
right?
ago.
So I was just talking to her one day, just seeing how she's doing, and she asked me where I'm at, and I told her the work I was doing as a strength coach. And she said, man, if you want to be working with like some serious athletes, if you want to see what strength coaching is about, you got to call Clance. I was like, all right, I don't know Clance, but just give me his number. Let's see what happens, right? So then that's when I had reached out to you. And then I feel like it was shortly after that, we had a lot of the lockdown here, but I was still looking at ways to further my career. Because initially when I went onto the website, LPS, and that's one of the things you told me to really research and see what you have to offer. I was like, this place is different. This place just seems like everybody is going after it, which is how I trained.
Right.
So when the lockdown occurred and things couldn't really come in as well, I still saw the opportunity to learn more. I'm always reading something. So that's where I came across the AAS course, right? So I jumped on it and pretty much just like blocked out time in my schedule every day. It's like, I gotta do a block of this every day. And that's how I ended up doing it. And there was a period where things are reopened, and then once I finished the theory component of it, which I will say was challenging because I've done certifications before where you get like a 70%, 80%, and those certifications are good, but in the AAS you had to get everything correct.
Yeah.
And it was like, you either know it
Or you don't.
Yes. And for me, I actually found that was valuable because if you go and give somebody a recommendation for a specific exercise and you don't really know what's going on, or you're not sure, then it could run into problems, right? So after the theory, then there was the opportunity to do the internship when things opened for a bit. And
that's where we ran into problems because of COVID, everything was locked down.
Yeah.
We will not certify anyone fully until we do a practical.
Yeah.
But that's actually how we got brought together.
Yeah,
in terms of you inquiring about coming in and just learning.
Yeah.
Once we got it reopening for professional athletes, we're allowed to train.
Yeah.
You started to come in and observe and
Yeah, exactly. So I came in, observed, but I'm a big believer in I don't like to give people things I haven't tried myself. So I came in, I interned, yes, but I know like after the sessions were done, I would do a workout. I would snatch, I would clean, I'd squat, I'd push press, I'd do all the bench press, the supination, everything that was in the program. Because for me, also, since getting back into the pool, more so as a swimmer, I was just saying, I was training, I was doing the strength work, I felt fast, but I hadn't really gotten the speed and strength endurance I needed for the end of the race.
Right.
So I say, as I'm doing this, let me see how this could help me improve what I was feeling in the water, right?
Right.
And it made a difference within 4 weeks. Coming off the wall was faster, my reactive ability off the blocks, pulling in the water was a lot easier. My mobility was increased. I was already pretty strong, but I didn't have that full range of strength and elasticity, that explosiveness. I felt like that was missing. So that's for me. Like I saw it, I practiced it, and I just kept doing it until
the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
You saw it. You didn't just do the theory.
Yeah.
I watched you. You went through it. You did the programs. right? You did the phases, structural balance, AS1, phase 2, phase 3, right? Taper and repeat.
All the time.
Right?
Still doing it.
Right?
Up to yesterday.
Today, right? So to me, that's huge. It's not about just talk. A lot of times, everything everything that programs and exercises I've done myself.
Yeah.
So when I see a coach going through it, because there's not only there's sets, there's reps and whatever, but people forget the mental component. When you can connect the mental going through it, it's easier to communicate with the athlete going through AS, because the AS is different.
Yeah.
Right? There's a huge mental component for it. And if you're not, and that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand, that component, that's why I love that story or what you've been through. And I can see the difference in you with amongst a lot of coaches I've observed and trained and so on and so forth. Because I had to call Selena and say, is this guy for real? You're dedicated, you work hard, you're smart. I tell you books to read, you go buy it, and you show me them, and you read them, and then you execute it. Yeah. To me, that's very important. And going through the exercises, going through the pain, the suffering, and the mental struggle is very important. I have a saying, I don't trust anyone who hasn't been through it physically. I just can't completely trust you as a coach. That's just a fact. And I take that simple principle through life. You people have to suffer with you a certain way or be through certain things for you to actually trust them 100%. That's just the way it is. Yeah. Right? Now, I lost track just a little bit, but the main thing is, tell me how AAS or being at LPS right now, we're open and so on and so forth. How is that helping your coaching and so on and so forth?
So it's been tremendous. I think first of all, just to tack on to the last part you just said with the mental aspect. Unlike other programs I've done, Olympic weightlifting has a huge psychological component to it. It's very different to deadlifting, which is still difficult, or bench pressing or squatting, but you're just moving the weight up and down primarily, right? When you got to pick this weight up and bring it to your shoulders or throw it over your head, you got to be fast, you got to be explosive, you got to be mobile. It plays with your mind sometimes, and you're just like, I got to pick up this weight again, right? So, but outside of that, I think coming here to LPS has been huge because there's that culture of just good was not acceptable. Like you just had to be your best. And you had to challenge that best every time you showed up, whether it was on the platform for me or whether it was coaching. It could be one detail I want to work on and focus on, but there was always that desire and also encouragement, between, yourself, between Jeremy, between all the other coaches we have here, that it was like, you got to level up. So I see LPS less of like as a gym and more as like a place of growth, like an institution. Like if you want to become a strength coach, a well-renowned strength coach, and really up your game wherever you're at, got to go to LPS, because you're gonna be challenged, you're gonna be pushed, you're gonna be uncomfortable, because that's where you grow. And that's what I found the biggest value here, and that's why I kept showing up during internship. And I just was like, I'm not gonna go anywhere else and just keep going. Because it's for me, I've seen myself transform as a coach through that as well too. And it's huge also for me to see, a brother as well too, who's gone through all the ranks, and see you as the head of creating AAS and LPS, so it's very inspirational to see a brother get to that level and, just keep helping them out, right? Feed off of that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. And, to touch on that point, there's so many different points I want to talk. But before I even go to that point, I'm going to go back a little bit.
Okay.
That's the root of our system, is what is not tested does not improve. There's twice a week you're tested. That's a mental component. I come from a powerlifting background when I used to run track, deadlift, bench, and so on and so forth. I get it. Deadlift, squat, bench. You think we utilize weightlifting because I like it? I'm here for one thing, what works. And you got these clowns out here running around with, little gimmicks and trying to my job is not to make the athlete comfortable. Yeah. My job is to make the athlete better. That's what we're about when you get in this gym. That's why we implement the exercises, whether you like it or not, in this gym. If you can't physically do it based on your structure, injuries, or whatever, that's a different story. But you're going to do it, or you find another gym. Because I know it's going to make you better. It's going to make you much more durable, injury-free, and it's going to elevate your performance. It's a fact, right? So that's why we came up with the system, and not only through the program of implementing the system of AAS, but through our culture. That's why we have a culture of getting better, growth, research, education, study. We don't want dumb coaches, right? We want coaches who want to be better, who want to better themselves, therefore better the athlete. And it goes all around. And people feed off that. It's important to stay on top of what's going on, be knowledgeable, and so on and so. So thank you for that, and I appreciate that. And that goes into a place of mentorship. That's what I loved about working with Charles Poliquin. Charles Poliquin always pushed me to be better. He was more aggressive. He gave me a book. I had to finish that book in at a certain time because he was checking on me, he was quizzing me, asking me questions. He was doing that because he saw that was his form of membership. He saw something in me, so he pushed it and drove it out of me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think for me, the mentorship apprenticeship approach, being on site, at the gym, watching what's doing, not just being in the textbook. Textbook is totally different from being in the environment. We have to get back to that type of mentorship and apprenticeship approach, because there's little things, and I said it over and over again. I hate when coaches come in here and they're not paying attention. There's so much that you can learn from paying attention and watching, and that's what I appreciate when I see you here. You're always observing, you're always paying attention, you're always asking questions, you're always trying to understand. And I give you time and try to get you to answer, and I try to answer those questions because I see that you're hungry to grow. And that's important for people like me. We don't want to waste our time with clowns who just want to come in and don't want to really learn and grow, right? We want this to be the best. We want the best strength coaches. So our job is to make you the best you can be.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I definitely felt that was the bar from day one. I mean, even from when I first contacted you and I said, as a strength coach, growing their career, what are some of the best resources you had used? For example, as you started out, and you sent me, I still have them, the book by Comey, Strength and Power in Sport, and then Science and Practice of Strength and Conditioning by Zatorsky.
Foundational books.
And I got these books and I opened them and I was like, oh, this is different level, right? Because I've been told to read other stuff, but not on that level of, scientific muscular adaptation, cellular adaptations occurring within the body, and then implementing it in a training setting, in a systematic manner that helps athletes reduce their injuries, that helps athletes be more explosive, and you see the transformation constantly. So.
And the thing is that there's a lot of times there's a stigma. Oh, it's just easy coming around throwing around some weights, lifting some weights. Yeah. But you thought you were at a pretty good level before you got in here as a strength coach.
I thought so, but perception is everything, right? So, yeah.
Man, Alan, I see great things for you in the future. I know you're heading to medical school. We're it was great having you. I know we may have LPS Barbados, but I'm so happy for you getting accepted in medical school. Communicating with someone like you is very helpful for my growth, because I'm a continual learner, and because we're studying certain things now, and I read that book like 3 times, but I go back to read that book by Comey, Strength and Power, which is everyone listening, get that book. That's the foundation. Strength and Power in Sports by Comey, right? Still stands the test of time, because things that because I'm reading the book at a different angle now, I'm pulling out different information to support the information that certain nonsense that's going on in the strength and conditioning or in the sporting world right now. Yeah. But my point is, man, or my question is to you, you know, what's your vision? Like, what do you, at the end of the day, what do you, Alan, want to do?
So for me, you know, a big part of it, there's twofold. One is my own personal athletic, but one is, you know, career-wise. So I could start with the career-wise, and I think it is something that had come up in one of my first days of internship, and I was talking to you. You know, even from then, you know, I said, you know, kind of an idea of what I saw my goals as being, but I asked, you know, what's the area, what's the gap when it comes to strength and conditioning as in communicating with other fields, allied health, you know, physio, chiro, sports medicine. And a lot of it was really the communication at a level that's accessible to everybody, what we're doing here and how it benefits the athletes that interplay with all those fields. Mm-hmm. So for me, I want to, you know, going into medicine with a focus in sports medicine. For me, I consider myself strength coaching first, but I want to help close that gap between strength and conditioning, sports medicine, and other allied health, but kind of seeing it from that side as well too. But I think having a better understanding of how to apply knowledge and strength first, I think was critical. I don't really see it being done other ways before, like that way. So for me, I want to start to help athletes like that become more injury resilient, become more dominant in their sport, and understand, have these fields understand all of what we're trying to do. So that's ultimately what I want to be able to do, to really close that communication gap between strength and conditioning, sports medicine, other allied health.
Where did that passion come from?
So,
what started it?
Oh, well, funny enough, strength coaching for me, and well, strength coaching passion and then the communication of it. So for me, I actually sustained an injury playing water polo when I was 19. And it wasn't to do with weights. A lot of people was like, oh, you know, you injured yourself lifting some weights. No.
Yeah, weights always get the bad name.
Yeah. Actually, I was in a game and I was goalkeeper. So it wasn't even contact, right? So what happened is that oftentimes when a player comes up to shoot, they'll fake the ball. So they went to shoot the ball, say to the left, fake the other direction. So what happened is that as I dove one direction, I had to suddenly change direction to the left. And I just kind of felt this immediate pull in my back. And I played the rest of the game, but, you know, I kind of had to hobble out the pool.
Right.
And, you know, it turned out I had a herniated disc,
right.
You know. So I created that kind of pressure within the environment.
Right.
No contact.
Right.
So I was told, you know, you can either do physio or you gotta start water polo, do physio. Or if you continue playing at that rate, then, you know, you might have to get surgery on your back, right? And at that age, I was like, I wanted to just ignore them and just play. But I said, you know what, let me just try the strength work, the physio. And it went on for like 6 months, but by the end of it, I said, this can't be the end. And I feel like that's what sometimes can happen. You finish that initial treatment and then you just kind of relapse. So I started looking at other different ways and researching other different ways to get my back strong, to get my core strong. That's where I found machines like the reverse hyperextension. And I started doing a bit of that. I did a bunch of different core exercises to the point where now, like, I don't get back pain like I used to. And I see people who are my age always complaining about back pain. And I said, man, you never really seen back pain until you had a herniated disc, right?
And coming into this system, you were worried about that.
I was concerned because it was an injury I had historically, and I was able to avoid any issue.
Rightfully so.
And a lot of my clients, I've been able to help them with bad backs because I had it personally, and I saw strength coaching as a way to improve your body's resilience wherever you had it, and to just also to get away from the label of the diagnosis. And I think that goes to a deeper level where sometimes you say, oh, I got a bad back. You have a bad back. You are not a bad back. There's a difference and distinction. Like it's part of what's going on right there with you, but it doesn't have to be your label. It doesn't have to be, you know, you have a bad wrist or bad shoulder and you're just gonna hold on to it. What are you gonna do to grow and get out of that mindset, right?
And what did you do to grow? How much you squat now?
Well, right now 485 is my squat. Trying to get towards that 500.
485 on a history of coming from that herniated disc.
And my back is fine. I have
Back
no
squat
problems.
485. That's 500. How much do you weigh to really dial that in a little bit?
220, so 100 kilograms, right? So close to 2.25
So
body
almost
weight.
2.25 body weight.
Yeah. So, but for me, that's where my initial passion for exercise came from, and the science behind it, and now tying it together with a path blended with medicine and strength. So,
And man, I love that, and I really want to hammer that in because I think that help a lot of people who you are not the bad back. You just got to find a way to work with the bad back, and you worked around it.
Yeah.
Not to say it was the easiest struggle, but you tackled it.
Yeah.
You went through the work, and you're way more resilient. Your core is strong. Your back is solid, right? And you're probably the strongest you've ever been.
oh yeah, for sure. I've been strong before, but since coming here, my strength levels, my explosiveness has gone up, my speed has gone up because I've been doing the training. I think, you know, weights and training and strength training, it's a metaphor for life. You want to get better, you know. For some people, the bar might be heavy. So are you gonna just give up on that? But what are you gonna do to grow and get past those initial barriers, right? And you apply that to whatever you do outside of a physical environment like this, right? And that's where like, it's not just, and that's why like this facility, it's not just high performance training, it's a high performance mindset. You gotta dig deep when you don't want to dig deep.
And that's what it is, man. I'm not, because a lot of people look at dominate and say, oh, you know, we want to dominate. Yeah, of course we want to dominate. We want to win. We want winners. But it's about you. Are you looking in the mirror and dominating your fears?
Yeah.
You know, because the strongest obstacle everyone on this earth has is their mind.
Yeah.
They have a task, they have a goal, but are you willing to sacrifice? Right? I don't like presentations, right? I don't like standing up in front of people and talking, but I have to, that's my fear, that's my thing I have to dominate. So every individual has to overcome things that they, stop doing things that you just like doing and do the things that you don't like so you can be better. You know, that's the end of the day. To me, that's what dominate means. You got to dominate your mind. So on that note, what does dominate mean to you?
To me, dominate means it's simple in my mind. In practice, it's different. But for me, it's, you set a goal and you rise towards it every single day. Consistency compounds. So whether you're doing one method, you may get to a certain point in that path. You may have to find a different avenue and go down the path towards the same goal. But you never just kind of, hold up and say, you know what, it's a little too difficult for me, right? Or whatever the case is. Maybe you just have to reach out and ask for help. I'm the kind of person that will just kind of keep going. I think you just got to get to the goal, find a path, stick to it, and be as consistent as possible. If you need help, you got to ask for help. But for me, I think of it as well too as the reason why I don't always reach out and ask for help and stuff like that. Like, I know what my goal is. So if I share it at whatever level, surface level, I'm more interested in having a team and a legacy around me of people who heard that, who have felt it, and are willing to pick up the hammer and start building it rather than, clapping at the end.
Yeah.
You can clap at the end, everything, that's all good, we can all celebrate, but
Right.
Are you willing to show up and help grow the brand, whatever, And for me, that's one of the things I felt when I came here, is like, okay, this resonates with me, what can I pick up and do? Whether it's initially helping out athletes with, their load management, or helping somebody learn how to snatch and clean, because at the end of the day, I know this type of training and building athletes, making them stronger, whether it's on the strength side or on the medicine side, or the sport nutrition side is going to be a huge part of what I do. And I know, yes, as I start medicine, but I still see this as a very much a continuation and continuation of the relationship with LPS. And, you know, this is not I'm no longer here. This is, you know, helping build the online presence, right? Helping build how you've helped build me. Like I said, mentorship is important and key, and it's huge to have a mentor like you, a brother, get to the highest levels, you know. So as much as I can feed back in, that's what I'm about. So at the end of the day.
Appreciate that, man. Much love. Champions
Much love.
champions are made in the dark.
That's right. They are.
Thank you, man. It was
Clance.
sorry, I forgot about the bike. Yo, man, much love. This brother right here, I'm telling you, man, he's on the way to big things, man.